God, it burns! No, not again.
I had performed the ritual for far too long and absorbed too much life force from the people around me. As I lay in bed, I could feel it all compounding within me, burning through every part of my body as though I had pushed every muscle group to failure during an intense workout. I could barely move, and a heavy fever began to take hold. I was unable to bend or shift my body. I was completely at the mercy of the ritual. Why did I gather so much from the people surrounding me in the gym? The same ritual I had used countless times before was now doing something far greater than it ever had. I had gone overboard and I was finally facing the consequences. I lay there, waiting for the process to come to an end. I could feel my arms and shoulders beginning to expand slightly. Everything hurt immensely, and there was nothing I could do except wait it out. My legs were too weak to carry me to the bathroom and prepare a cold bubble bath that might ease the pain and lower my fever. Sweat poured from every part of my body. My clothes were completely drenched, as though I had exercised intensely after drinking far too much water. I lay there in shock, afraid that this ordeal might ultimately lead to my demise. As the process continued, my thoughts turned increasingly grim. I could feel the excessive heat radiating from my body. My skin seemed to tighten and stretch simultaneously as my forearms, arms, shoulders, traps, and back slowly expanded while continuing to release sweat. I could not bring myself to look down at my body. Everything hurt too much, including my neck. I was stuck staring at the ceiling as my vision began to blur in certain places. Tiny lights shimmered at the edges of my sight before disappearing just as quickly. I feared that an aneurysm or stroke was imminent. I closed my eyes and focused on breathing slowly, trying to relax into the experience rather than fight it. I tried not to dwell on what I had done. After all, it was all entirely beyond my control. I allowed my shoulders and traps to relax as much as I could. As I lay there, I could feel sweat soaking into the bedding, and my shirt gradually became tighter against my body. Small holes began to appear along the seams. They looked like the kind of wear one might expect from years of repeated washing and drying. But this was different. My body was slowly stretching the material, causing its weakest point to loosen and split apart. I felt increasingly short of breath as my torso expanded. The sensation reminded me of times when I had eaten too much unhealthy food and felt that as though my arteries were partially clogged. Breathing became more difficult, and the fever seemed to intensify. I began to hallucinate slightly, recalling the faces of countless people I had encountered throughout the centuries. Memories from every stage of my life surfaced one after another. I found myself reliving moments that had profoundly shaped me. I was beginning to think that this was the end, that I would not be able to endure much more. Perhaps this was life's way of punishing me for all the deeds I had committed over the centuries. Then, suddenly, fueled by pure adrenaline, my eyelids closed and everything went black. Several hours later, I awoke. It took a few moments to understand where I was and what had happened. Slowly, I pushed myself upright, feeling weak and unsteady. A powerful dizziness swirled through my head. I placed a hand against the wall and carefully made my way towards the bathroom. My head felt heavier than the rest of my body. I turned on the water and adjusted it to comfortably warm temperature. Wanted the water temperature to be a tad bit colder than hot to ensure that it would help to reduce my fever. I did not have time to examine myself in the mirror. The dizziness continued to make me sway from side to side. Before attempting anything else, I removed my clothes and eased myself into the bathtub, allowing the water to continue flowing around me. As the dizziness gradually subsided, I began to notice that my body had changed. The realization felt surreal. As the fog in my mind slowly lifted, visible changes became apparent throughout my frame. I filled the tub a little more than just a few days ago. I went on to examine myself carefully. My body appeared noticeably more muscular and vascular than it had before the incident. I placed my feet against the lower end of the tub and slowly pushed myself upward. As my torso and head rose, I noticed that my arms no longer rested comfortably along the edges of the bathtub as they once had. I stared at myself in amazement. Slowly flexing my arms, I was surprised by the increased size. I ran my hands across my chest and shoulders and could feel that they had filled out as well. Looking downward, I noticed that my thighs and calves appeared substantially larger. The changes were not extreme, but they were unmistakable. I was not entirely sure how much taller I'd become, but my best guess was somewhere between 4 to 6 inches. After soaking for several more minutes, I stood, dried myself off, and finally glanced into the mirror. My face had changed subtly. I felt like an entire different person, curious. I tried on my largest t-shirt and pair of shorts only to discover how tight they had become. The shirt now resembled a muscle shirt that was at least 2 sizes too small. Decided not to worry about it, I grabbed my keys and drove to the nearest outlet mall in search of clothes that would better fit my new frame. Any brand that catered to the big and tall market would probably suffice. Fortunately, it was a weekday, and the outlet mall would likely be nearly empty. That meant I could avoid drawing too much attention while wearing a shirt that now rode high enough to expose part of my midsection, and shorts that looked more like marathon running gear than sweat shorts.